Visio is a software application with a variety of uses and has the potential to be used across a vast amount of disciplines, including business, healthcare, and IT. Our group has found that Visio can be a very useful tool when used within a healthcare setting, such as hospitals, clinics, and primary care centers. One of the main uses our group has found for Visio within healthcare is the application creating timelines, with the potential use as a time-oriented medical record. Time-oriented medical records allow for healthcare professionals to track data and information of a patient in chronological order, which is extremely important in order to provide optimal care. Our group has analyzed the impacts of time-oriented medical records and the benefits they provide to users. The first visible benefit of time-oriented medical records for healthcare professionals is the ability to see a chronological progression of a patient's condition and overall health. Another noticeable advantage of using time-oriented medical records is the accessibility and easiness of finding specific dates within a patient's file. Healthcare professionals are also able to view a patient's latest appointment very easily with this layout, helping them remember and reassess the patients based on their latest data. Healthcare professionals will also be able to enter data very easily into the system due to its user-friendly layout and accessibility, making the process easier and more efficient when providing care. Lastly, when using the layout, a professional is able to see the trends within a patient's records, which could lead to easier and quicker diagnosis.
Microsoft Visio all began back in 1984. The program was first released as a floppy disk. There has been many versions since, and in January of 2013, Microsoft Visio 2013 was released. It was the 15th version. Some of the features include new shape effects such as 3D rotation, glow-in-the-dark shapes, sketching, customizable image clipping, duplicate pages, and much more. Microsoft Visio is intended to create flowcharts, floor plans, timelines, chart diagrams, and much more. There is also the feature of being able to create 3D map diagrams. The program equips the user with many templates of various uses. The program has mainly been designed for enterprise users, but can also be used by home users. Take into consideration that this software was created for very complex diagrams, but may also be used for simple diagrams. Currently in the healthcare industry today, Microsoft Visio has been used by pharmaceutical companies to conduct clinical trials. Using the software is much more efficient than paper-based data. In addition, protocols from drug research companies are now set up as a visual graphic using Visio. Currently, the data collected from trials conducted by doctors, clinicians, and other healthcare professionals in some facilities is being entered into Microsoft Visio. A feature that has become a huge asset to the healthcare industry with Microsoft Visio is that creations can be stored in Microsoft Office SharePoint virtual workspace, where multiple team members have the opportunity to view the project and collaborate together. Diagrams can be shared with others who do not have Visio installed. Visio diagrams and flowcharts allow users to visually see problems in workflow of other departments at a glance. Charts can be color-coded for optimal organization, and best of all, Microsoft Visio is accessible almost anywhere, even on your mobile device. In addition, there is security for the software using information rights management. Microsoft Visio is an innovative software that is easy for professionals to use and collaborate with. It has great potential in healthcare.
Microsoft Visio is overall a great tool that can be used in a wide variety of practices. However, no program is perfect, and Visio has some flaws. First major issue with Visio is its lack of clip art. For a program that is so advanced with visual appeal and intricate diagram-making capabilities, it is sort of ironic that it lacks one of the more basic visual tools that Microsoft programs have used forever. Any users of Visio who would want to use this iconic piece of Microsoft technology would be disappointed. In addition, while Visio does not require any special hardware in particular, it does recommend a larger monitor in order to adequately perform tasks. This could be a problem in a healthcare setting as space is at a premium and there may not be room to fit these larger monitors. Finally, Visio is not cheap. The purchase price for the 2016 Professional Edition was $876. For multiple licenses, a discount would likely be available, but even then, a hospital may not be willing to pay for the price for a piece of software when they have so many other expenses. Challenges. Visio does have some challenges that are fairly easy to overcome. If somebody is unfamiliar with Microsoft Office software, then they might have a bit of a struggle dealing with user interface, as it is pretty much the same as all other Microsoft products. There is a learning curve for Visio like any other software. In order to create this time-oriented medical record, along with making it visually appealing to other users, they would require an intricate knowledge of the program, and that.
To open Visio, double-click on the Visio icon on your desktop.
This leads you to the Visio homepage, where on the left you can open projects that you have already been working on, or you can start a new project. As you can see, there are many templates that are able to serve many purposes. At the top, there is a search bar if you are unable to find the template you need. Today, we are making a time-oriented patient record, so we are going to pick the blue timeline template in the second row.
This is the page that will pop up once you have selected the timeline template. You will want to change the units from US units to metric units and then hit create.
This is the blank canvas where you can now start creating the time-oriented patient record. At the top of the page is the toolbar, which holds all your different options for font, layout, design, etc. To the left of the page is the stencils and shapes that you may use on your timeline.
To begin creating your timeline, on the left at the top of the timeline shapes, select Block Timeline. Then drag it over to your page. Once this has been done, a Configure Timeline box will automatically pop up. Select the time period, start and change date to the day that your patient comes in for the first time.
In this case, it will be February 25th of 2012. You can select a time as well. We have put in the time as 11:15.46 a.m. Unfortunately, with Visio, you do not have the ability to leave the timeline open-ended. So for this particular scenario, we have made the end March 31st of 2016 at 12 a.m. Under scale change, the timeline scales to weeks. There is many other options such as hours, days, weeks, months, and years. By default, the week will start on a Sunday and the new year will start on January 1st.
So now the timeline base is created and it is time to start adding appointments.
The next step is to add a patient profile to the top left corner of the time-oriented patient record. This profile will be a rectangular box. To create the rectangular box, click on the pointer tool just below the timeline tab on the home screen. With the mouse, click in the top corner where you want to place the rectangular box and drag it across to the size you want it to be. By default, the color of the box will be blue. There is options to select another color and shape styles by clicking the drop-down arrow. This part of the record is purely cosmetic but could be used to distinguish a record.
As part of the profile for the patient record, we are going to create a section where there is the option to add a photo to the record. To do so, we will go through the same steps as we did to create the rectangular box. Click on the pointer tool, then click on the left top corner of the blue rectangle and drag the pointer to create a square. This marks the area designated for a patient photo. To write patient photo in the box, you must go to the Insert tab and select Text Box. Click in the middle left of the white box and drag the text box across the white square. The next step is to type patient photo so when someone is filling in the record, they know what this area is for.
Now we are going to create the area for the rest of the information for the patient profile. As you can see, it is once again a white rectangle inside of the blue rectangle. To create this, click on the pointer tool, then click on the area just beside the square white box. leaving a small barrier of blue in between. Drag the mouse across the blue area to create a white rectangle for the patient's information.
Once again, we are going to create a text box inside of the white rectangle. Go to Insert tab and select Text Box. Click on the top left of the white rectangle and drag the text box across. On the left side of the text box, write patient name, click Enter, and directly below type health card, name, then sex, race, address, and phone number. By default, the text is blue.
In order to adjust the size of the rectangular box, there is little squares that outline the text box, and you are able to shrink it or enlarge the text box.
So now we are going to begin inputting appointments for Susie's cancer treatments. Click on the square milestone and drag it over to the beginning of the timeline block. The first appointment is a mammogram. The appointment takes place February 25th, 2012 p.m. Note that when you drag over the square milestone, there will automatically be a date for the spot it has been dragged to. To make the appointment specific to this cancer patient, we are inputting the date and time manually.
The second appointment for Susie is a follow-up to the mammogram. At this point, Susie has been diagnosed with breast cancer. To add a follow-up appointment, click on the square milestone and drag it over just past the first appointment. Add a description to the appointment called follow-up. The appointment takes place March 9th at 9:30 a.m. Now go to Position, under Orient Shapes, click Rotate Shapes, and then Vertical Flip. So this appointment does not overlap the previous one.
The third appointment is an MRI to obtain more details about Susie's cancer and the stage that it is at. So once again, we are going to drag over a square milestone. The milestone description is going to be MRI, and we are going to change the date to March 16th. And the appointment takes place at 10 a.m. Then press OK.
After the MRI, there is another follow-up appointment for Susie. This appointment is on April 1st, 2012 at 1 p.m. Once again, drag and drop the square milestone. Input the follow-up for the description. Now, change the date to April 1st, 2012. And remember the time of 1 p.m. Now go to Position under Orient Shapes, click Rotate Shapes, and then Vertical Flip, so that this appointment does not overlap the previous one.
So the results of Susie's MRI revealed a tumor in her left breast that is approximately 2 centimeters in length. In addition, small groups of cancer cells, approximately 0.5 millimeters in length, were found in her lymph nodes. This classifies Susie's cancer as stage 1B. Up to this point on the timeline, this has been Susie's diagnostic stage. There will be more appointments to come.
So to categorize Susie's diagnostic stage, we are going to select the curly bracket interval, and we are going to drag it over on top of her first 4 appointments. For the start date, we are going to input February 25th, 2012. For the start time, it is 12 p.m. The finish date for her appointments that lead to her diagnosis will be April 1st. And the finish time will give her approximately half hour for her follow-up appointment, so it would be 1:30 p.m. And for the interval description, we are going to put diagnosis stage. And click OK. So it's going to come up down below. We're going to click on the bracket and move it just above. And flip it. So go to position, rotate shapes, and flip vertical. And let's see, we're just having a couple issues here. We'll shorten that. Go like that. There we go. And move it up a little further. And now we can see that this is the diagnosis stage for Susie. And we are going to save so that we do not lose this information. We have inputted the dates Susie went for a lumpectomy, radiation, sentinel lymph node biopsy, and chemotherapy. For both radiation and chemotherapy, there is a series of treatments.
For radiation, instead of inputting a series of treatments, we are going to add a block interval. The block interval will start at the date of the first radiation treatment, which is July 29, 2012. The end date for Susie's radiation treatment will be August 29, 2012. Each week she had one session of treatment.
We're just going to have to move the block.
We are going to do the same steps as we did for radiation for the chemotherapy treatments. Drag over the block interval and input October 10th, 2012. The end date for Susie's chemo treatments will be November 24th, 2012. Each week she had one chemo treatment.
And we're going to drag this just below the chemotherapy treatments. Once we get a hold of it here, there we go. We're gonna click save. And that's all for that specific stage. So now we are going to talk about some additional features that we could add to the timeline. So to start, we can add an area for doctor's notes. So go to the Insert tab and find the Callout selection. Click the drop-down arrow and select any of the different text styles. So we're going to do the thought bubble. And then you can put it directly above an appointment, and just the doctor has the ability to add a little note about the sentinel lymph node biopsy.
We can also add a reminder box. To do this, go to the Insert tab and click Container. Type Reminders as the heading, and then move the Reminders box to the right side of the patient information triangle.
We'll just make these separate. We'll move the reminders box just up here.
An additional feature is the ability to change the color scheme. To do this, go to the Design tab and select a variant. We chose variant 4. This is more of a customizable tool and just to play around with the system.
And there you have it, folks. That is Visio. As a blooper, please disregard the spelling of sentinel. Feel free to have a little laugh. And as a side note, you can get extra help from support.microsoft.com, and it'll bring up support for Microsoft Visio. And here you'll be able to find additional information to the information that we have already given you. Thanks for watching our video on Microsoft Visio about how to create a time-oriented patient record.